What if the very thing you've been told to do for years, the habit you trust, the movement you repeat faithfully, is quietly working against your recovery instead of helping it? This idea can feel uncomfortable, even threatening, especially after 60, when routine becomes safety. But medicine has taught me something humbling over the years. The body does not respond to belief. It responds to physics, biology, and consistency. And circulation, perhaps more than any other system, reveals this truth with unforgiving clarity. I've watched people do everything right by conventional advice. They walk every morning. They elevate their legs at night. They wear compression socks. They drink water. They rest when they feel tired. And still, they sit across from me describing the same story. Cold feet that never warm. Ankles that swell by afternoon. A burning or aching heaviness that creeps in as the day goes on. A subtle fear of falling that they can't quite explain, but feel deeply in their bones. These aren't isolated complaints. They are signals. And after 60, signals like these deserve attention long before they become diagnoses. Poor circulation is rarely loud at first. It doesn't announce itself with dramatic pain or sudden collapse. Instead, it whispers. Healing takes longer. A small scrape lingers. Balance feels uncertain. Energy drains more quickly. The feet feel distant from the rest of the body, as if they belong to someone else. And beneath these sensations, something measurable is happening. Blood is struggling to complete its journey down to the legs and back up to the heart. Not because the heart has stopped working, but because the system that assists it has quietly weakened. We often talk about the heart as if it works alone, heroically pumping life through the body. But the heart depends on partnership. Gravity is relentless, and blood does not defy it willingly. The body relies on muscles, especially in the lower legs, to act as mechanical assistants, squeezing veins and pushing blood upward. When this system works, we rarely notice it. When it fails, the consequences unfold slowly, then suddenly. After 60, arteries can stiffen and narrow. Veins can lose their tone. Valves that once prevented backflow begin to leak. Blood pools where it shouldn't, particularly in the ankles and feet. Oxygen delivery drops. Waste removal slows. Tissues become vulnerable. And by the time many people realize something is wrong, the body has been compensating for years. By age 70, a significant portion of adults have measurable impairment in blood flow to the legs, often without knowing it. That lack of awareness is part of the danger. As surgeons, we don't have the luxury of guessing about circulation. We see the end results when early warning signs are missed. We see swelling harden into skin breakdown. So we see minor wounds turn into chronic sores. We see balance falter. Then a single fall sets off a cascade of decline. Mobility decreases. Confidence erodes. Movement shrinks. And as movement shrinks, circulation worsens further. It becomes a loop that feeds itself unless something interrupts it deliberately. The common assumption is that walking should solve this. Walking is good. It remains one of the most valuable habits a human can maintain across a lifespan. But walking relies heavily on momentum. After 60, momentum alone often isn't enough. The muscles responsible for actively pumping blood can move through the motion of walking without contracting strongly or long enough to create meaningful pressure inside the veins. The movement happens, but the pump doesn't fully engage. That's the gap most people never learn about. Rehabilitation science approaches the problem differently. It doesn't ask how many steps you took. It asks which muscles contracted, how long they stayed engaged, and whether they physically assisted blood in overcoming gravity. When you understand this, exercise stops being about effort and starts being about intention. Small movements, performed deliberately, can outperform larger ones done passively. Consider the lower leg for a moment. Within the calf muscles lies one of the most important circulatory mechanisms in the body. When these muscles contract, they compress deep veins, pushing blood upward toward the heart. This action is so significant that clinicians often refer to it as a secondary pump, not metaphorically but mechanically. When this pump weakens, blood doesn't stop moving altogether, it just moves poorly. And poor movement over time has consequences. One of the simplest ways to wake this system is also one of the most underestimated. Sitting quietly, lifting the toes, then pressing them down and lifting the heels. No standing, no balance challenge, just deliberate motion. It seems insignificant until you understand what's happening internally. Each controlled contraction creates a pressure wave inside the veins. repeated rhythmically. These waves encourage stagnant blood to move. Studies in vascular rehabilitation consistently show that this kind of targeted motion can reduce swelling and improve venous return even in people who cannot stand or walk comfortably. The power of this movement is not intensity, it's repetition and awareness. After 60, the nervous system benefits from reminders. Muscles that haven't been asked to work deliberately respond surprisingly quickly when they are. Performed consistently throughout the day, as these small motions can warm cold feet, reduce ankle pressure, and create a sense of connection to the lower body that many people have lost without realizing it. But waking the system is only the beginning. Blood doesn't just need help leaving the feet. It needs assistance moving through the larger veins of the thighs and hips. This is where seated leg lifting becomes far more than a strength exercise. When you lift the leg slowly and hold it, the muscles of the thigh contract in a way that compresses major blood vessels. This doesn't just build muscle. It improves circulation through regions that walking often understimulates, especially in people who move cautiously or shuffle slightly as they age. What makes this movement effective is posture and control. Sitting tall, resisting momentum, lowering slowly. These details matter because they force the muscles to do the work rather than letting gravity assist. The result is not only stronger legs, but improved blood return and greater confidence in movements, like standing from a chair or climbing stairs. Walking speed improves not because of cardiovascular endurance, but because the muscles required for propulsion are finally being challenged. As strength returns, something else begins to shift. Balance. Balance is often treated as a separate system, but in reality, it is deeply connected to circulation. Muscles that stabilize the ankle and calf must contract precisely and continuously to keep the body upright. When they do, they also pump blood. Weak calves don't just make balance unreliable. They slow blood flow, reduce oxygen delivery, and delay reaction time. This is why calf strength predicts independence so strongly in older adults. Standing heel raises, performed slowly with a pause at the top, retrain both systems simultaneously. The pause is critical. It creates sustained pressure inside the veins and forces the nervous system to coordinate posture and muscle contraction. This mirrors what happens when someone catches themselves during a stumble. The body doesn't react with speed alone. It reacts with controlled strength. Practicing this deliberately changes how the body responds when balance is challenged unexpectedly. As these muscles grow stronger, another skill becomes essential. It's the ability to stand on one leg. This may appear to be a balance test, but physiologically, it is far more. Standing on one leg demands continuous contraction from the calf, ankle, hip, and core. This sustained contraction creates prolonged pumping action. Unlike walking, where the body shifts quickly from one leg to the other, this hold forces the pump to remain engaged. Blood is actively driven upward for the entire duration of the stance. This is where circulation and fall prevention intersect most clearly. When balance declines, people restrict movement. When movement declines, circulation suffers. When circulation suffers, tissues weaken and pain increases. Breaking this cycle requires restoring confidence and control. Single leg holds do this quietly, without impact, without equipment, by reminding the body how to stabilize itself under load. The longer the body can maintain this controlled contraction, the more efficient blood movement becomes. The nervous system adapts. Reaction times improve, confidence returns, movement expands again, and with movement, circulation improves further. It is a reinforcing loop, but this time in the right direction. At the peak of this process is a movement so simple it's often overlooked. Rising onto the balls of the feet and holding. This is the most direct way to activate the calf pump fully. The hold is everything. It keeps pressure inside the veins long enough to overcome pooling and sluggish return. This sustained contraction does what medication and machines attempt to simulate. It uses the body's own design. Performed with support, slowly and deliberately, this movement places minimal stress on joints while producing profound internal effects. Blood is pushed upward. Swelling decreases. Ankles feel lighter, walking becomes easier. Balance improves not because of practice alone, but because the muscles responsible for emergency stabilization are being trained under controlled conditions. None of this replaces walking. Walking remains valuable for the heart, the lungs, the mind. But walking alone leaves gaps. It doesn't fully activate the pumps that move blood out of the lower legs. It doesn't hold muscles under tension long enough to restore venous efficiency. It doesn't always challenge balance in a way that retrains the nervous system after 60. So what restores circulation is not effort for effort's sake. It is understanding. Understanding which muscles matter. Understanding how long they must contract. Understanding that small, intentional movements can protect independence more effectively than large, unfocused ones. When the body is respected for its design, it responds generously, even later in life. Aging does not mean surrendering function. It means changing strategy. The body remains adaptable. Muscles still respond. Blood still moves when given the right conditions. And when circulation improves, everything else follows. Healing accelerates. Pain softens. Confidence returns. The feet feel like part of the body again, and movement, once feared, becomes a source of stability rather than risk. This is not about chasing youth. It is about preserving capability. It is about giving the body what it actually needs to do the work it was designed to do. And when that happens, the difference is not measured only in steps taken, but in years lived with strength, balance, and dignity.